Hi, my name is Emily, and I will be refuting Paul's claim of fact speech. His original claim was the exponential spread and use of social networking has an overall negative effect on students. He had three secondary claims, the first one being social networking causes psychological disorders and addictions. The second one is social networking risks the spread of false information. And the third one being the social networking allows for cyberbullying. Suicide is the third leading cause of death among youth between the ages of 10 to 24, according to the CDC. Suicide can be a result of psychological disorders, but there are many sites a student can go to online for support. dailystrength.org is one of these sites. Students or anyone can go onto these sites for help with any of their problems, psychologically or addictive problems. Paul used an article from Medical News Today. The article also went on to say a study from the University of California, San Diego suggests that using social media may spread happiness. The research team, led by James Fowler of the School of Medicine at San Diego, found that happy statuses online encourage others to post happy statuses themselves. His secondary fact was social networking risks the spread of false information. That is true, but as college students or as students in general, we should be able to differentiate credibility in the places we're finding our news. An article in social media, called Social Media in the News, or the New News Source by Kristen Murillo, states that over 50% of people finds out breaking news on social media. The media in general does spread false news. Being able to differentiate credible sources can be easy simply by looking into the idea that you're looking into. If you could find it in more than one place online, then it might be true, but if you can only find it without one source, then that source might not be credible. Paul talks about the problem of spreading false news such as the Ebola spread, or the Ebola scare, but the media has positive ways of spreading news. After the shootings at the Batman movie, it was spread very quickly to the public and alerted them so that they could take into consideration if they wanted to go to that movie in case something else like that happens. His last secondary claim was that social networking allows for cyberbullying. Paul says cyberbullying is difficult to control. That is true, but bullying in general is hard to control since it's just someone trying to be mean to someone else. There are many cyberbullies, but there are also a lot of help groups that you could go to counter the cyberbullying. Also, even if it's not just from online bullying, you could go online to find help groups for any problems, such as groups, communities, or sources. My rebuttal claims are social networking opens up the world for students. In 2015, as students, we need the internet because one, we could find information, and two, it brings us closer to other students. In group projects, it's hard for students to all get together, but online, you could use Google Doc, and you could bring your groups into your own home at any time. Social networking spreads the expansion of information, and it allows students to become closer to students that they might not be if it wasn't for the social networking. Another rebuttal is that, yes, Facebook and Instagram and Twitter do have their downfalls, but there are other sites out there like LinkedIn, Chegg, DocCity that could, have a lot more positive effects on students. In conclusion, social networking does have its faults, but if used correctly, it can be used as a great tool for students. They can use it to find reliable sources and to connect with other students. Bullying is a problem for students, but there are communities online that could be offered as a support, or could give ideas, or just an escape for the student. Using social networking is becoming a bigger part of our modern world. It is an instrument that isn't going anywhere. Honor Whitman, a writer from Medical News Today, says overall it appears that the exact effects of social media on our mental health and well-being remains to be seen. But one thing is for sure, our use of social networking sites is unlikely to fade anytime soon. Thank you.
All right, you started off pretty clearly labeling the 3 secondary issues in the main proposition. The next thing I know, you dove into the issue of suicides. You're talking about people seeking support, and I'm not exactly sure how that fits in with that first point. I'm sure that it does. There's an application, but you didn't really explain what that application is. As we go along, I think there's a little bit more of an explanation, and that is that, the social networking has multiple sides, and one of the sides is that people who have problems can find help online, and some of the same things that might provide any harmful consequence also provides beneficial consequences. So that's what you need to say, and I think you just kind of dove into the examples without really explaining what the point of those examples was on that first point. It was a little bit clearer on the second and the third points what you were saying on those particular issues. The idea of spreading false information, there's no doubt that kind of stuff happens. I think you've got the right response here, that people have to be able to identify credible sources and make decisions about what's going on. Now, how they do that, I think that's one of the questions that we have to answer. This is the way the world is nowadays. Anybody can post anything online, and people share all the stuff that they see, but that's a lot of malarkey. Where does it come from? That's the issue, and is it trustworthy? That's another issue. So how do we make those decisions? I thought you offered a couple of examples, maybe multiple sources. Does it come from some traditional source? I don't know. We got sidetracked on the Ebola scare, and I'm not exactly sure that the fact that, in fact, I think the Batman example works against you on this particular issue. That some psycho killed people in a movie theater, and now we are suddenly aware of it. Therefore, we're going to make a rational decision not to go to the movies in that situation. I think that the position of the advocate would be the other direction. A bunch of people get scared and stampeded out of doing something because of stuff that's happening online. So you see it in a completely different way. The cyberbullying thing, it seems like we're coming back to the same issue that you had at the beginning, where you were saying there's access to stuff online that will help people in these particular situations. You mentioned several websites where there's all this nice stuff that goes on. I don't know why it's nicer there than it is other places, and I would like to have a little bit of proof on that sort of thing. There's no doubt that the advantages of social networking cut both ways. Is there any way to quantify which has the greater impact? That's kind of what we're looking at. And I think you can make a good argument that says there's nothing that quantifies what these negative effects are, and that's where you need to go, because it's the burden of proof of the advocate in this particular case to show that it's significant and damaging. And I think that there are lots of presses that you make that kind of undermine that. All right, thank you.